President Obama signed an $18 billion jobs bill into law today, but cautioned additional steps are needed to bring down the unemployment rate. For a look at what additional steps need to be taken, we're joined by Christina Romer, chair of the Council of Economic Advisors, and she joins us from the White House. Ms. Romer, welcome back to Bloomberg News. Always good to see you.
It's great to be here.
How quickly will Americans see this jobs bill have an impact?
You know, I think this is one that can have an impact very fast, precisely because it really works very much with the private sector. It's a tax incentive for firms to hire. We think it's something that they will know about right away and can take advantage of right away. So we also think it's one of the, sort of the highest bang for the buck kind of things that you can do at a time when firms are seeing demand come back, when they're starting to think about hiring. This kind of an incentive might be just what they need to put them over and actually start putting people on the payroll.
Now, some Republicans do say the $13 billion payroll tax holiday, estimated to produce as many as 234,000 jobs, would cost taxpayers too much per position. What's your response to that bit of criticism?
But I just would tell them to look at studies by the Congressional Budget Office, by private forecasters like Mark Zandi. They all say that a payroll tax holiday for extra workers is one of the most cost-effective ways that you can put people back to work, precisely because it leverages the private sector. It says, we're going to give you an extra inducement to do what we think you're about, you're getting ready to do, and that's hire workers.
Right.
Here, we're going to get you to do it faster, and that's going to be so good for the American economy.
But Dr. Romer, as Lori was mentioning that criticism from the Republican ranks, New Hampshire's Judd Gregg, he's the ranking Republican on the Budget Committee. He said yesterday that this isn't a jobs bill, it's a debt bill. And he said, when are we going to stop spending? What's your response to that criticism?
I think it's incredibly short-sighted. At a time when the unemployment rate is 9.7%, the number one thing that you need to do is to get people back to work. That's not just good for people. That is good for the budget deficit. There is no way you get this budget deficit under control if you don't get the unemployment rate down. Also, now, you won't get any argument from me. Deficit control is important. That's why the president has appointed a fiscal commission. We're very much looking at ways to get the deficit down over the long run. But right now, you got to put people back to work.
What are the ways, what are the methods in the forefront here for bringing down this massive deficit?
Well, certainly the president has, in his budget, started that process of making some hard choices, proposing a non-security discretionary freeze. He has appointed a bipartisan commission, something that people like Judd Gregg has said is an important step forward for getting us to a point where we can all agree on how to deal with this problem. And we're about to vote on health care reform. And that is, as we learned from the CBO numbers today, a major deficit reduction proposal. And so that's absolutely essential.
Dr. Romer, you were on Capitol Hill this week with Treasury Secretary Geithner and Budget Director Orszag, and you cautioned that the percentage of Americans who can't find work is likely to remain elevated for an extended period. What type of period are we talking about? What's the time frame?
Well, what we certainly have in the forecast that came out with our budget is that the unemployment rate would stay quite high for much of this year and then start to come down more rapidly. One of the things, though, I did note in my testimony, if we take some high-impact actions, like a hiring tax credit, like these investment incentives that are in this bill, we can help to move that number down faster.
Dr. Christina Romer, chair of the Council of Economic Advisors, joining us from the White House. Dr. Romer, always good to talk to you. Thanks.